Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sport. For today's URC Round 3, 5 things we learned, and a very interesting weekend. Another full house for the South Africans. And if you had backed the Forever Sports Bet Boost brought to you by BetCoza, you would have won big actually, because they gave us special odds at 7-1 for all South African teams to win, and they all did the business. But today we're going to be going through 5 things that we learned from the last round. Looking at some of the pros and the cons, some of where the areas to work on for the South side, some of the areas where there needs to be concern with, where that warrants concern, and some areas where things are going pretty well and we can be a bit happier about sort of things within sort of those various setups. Before we do, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. As usual, this is just what I've taken out of the game, so let us know what you've taken out. Let me know if there's anything that you sort of picked up or anything specific that you sort of really noticed during the week. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. But until then, let's talk about number 1. Right, so the Bulls have gone 3 from 3 and are currently sitting on top of the URC table alongside Leinster. And the biggest thing, I think, and the biggest reason for me that they're becoming the team to beat, in inverted commas, is because we still haven't seen maybe a perfect performance from them. And whilst I thought that they played very well, I mean, they came out the block expiring and put Connacht away pretty easily. I didn't think it was a particularly good performance from Connacht, so I don't think the Bulls had to work as hard as they would have liked to. And I think that they, conceded 2 pretty poor tries. But what I always say is the hallmark of a side, or the best side, is the ability to get results even if you don't play particularly well. And I think the Bulls can get a lot better. And the fact that they're now sitting with 14 of a possible 15 points on the past 3 rounds, and yet we still haven't seen anything close to a performance from the Bulls, bodes very well for them. And as I said, it's not a criticism on them. I think it is early season. Pre-season they'll still start to gel and get a lot better. But we're seeing a lot of positives from Jake White's side. For me, I think defensively just need to show up a little bit, and then I think that they will be very much in contention to win the entire URC. So the Lions in the last sort of 5 years, basically, even 5, 6, 7 years, have become the side known for sort of free-flowing, high-risk, high-reward, champagne-type rugby when they get it right. They're a side that love to throw it around. They're a side that love to play, keep the ball alive, play on the breaks. Very good handling, very slick handling. That's kind of what they've been known for. But this weekend, in horrible conditions, they had to show a different side to them. They had to show that they could knuckle down, keep it close, keep it tight, and get the victory result. And they very much did that. The scrums were absolutely awesome for the Lions, and they bullied Cardiff off the field. They managed to upset Cardiff. They managed to disrupt them a lot, and they were just far more clinical. And they ended up getting a bonus point victory away from home. So an absolute awesome performance from the Lions to go 2 from 2. They've got Edinburgh this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see if they can take it up another notch. But for me, this weekend was a big display of the fact that coaching is working, that there is a bit of a special project brewing this Lions side, and the fact that they could adapt to the conditions and play a different style of rugby that they're not known for and get the result showed a lot of character and showed for me a lot of progress, because they're a side that on perfect conditions can punish you, and especially when you're playing the high flop and they've got the fitness sort of factor. But they're often a side when the going gets tough, they don't really get going, and this weekend they did get going. And for me, that was a very positive sign from a very well-coached side that they can switch the game plan a little bit and adapt to each team, each conditions, and still be able to perform well, which is something that the best teams can do. So a very big positive for Lions to be able to have done that. Whilst it wasn't the perfect defensive performance from the Stormers, I thought that they hung on very well. Especially in the first half, and then with a very good second half performance, put sort of the pedal to the metal and got themselves their 34 points to 18. But in the first half, Edinburgh were very much camped out in the Stormers 22. Stormer discipline could improve. I think, the yellow card to Edinburgh, red card to Sunday. I felt like Sunday was a little bit harsh. But I think that in general, we saw quite an inspired defensive performance. Whilst they didn't always necessarily manage to, as I said, Edinburgh scored 18 points. So on the face of it, you don't think that's the best defensive performance. But I think that we did see, a lot of heart. The fact that Edinburgh had so much one-way traffic and yet only got over the whitewash in the 28th minute, I think showed the character from the Stormers. And then in the 75th minute, from Cherry going over there. But to only concede one try after not being particularly good in the first half, I thought was pretty impressive from the Stormers. And I think if you look at the tackles that they had to make far more tackles than Edinburgh, and yet missed fewer tackles. They had an 88% tackle success rate. So I thought that it did look like a Stormers side that just didn't want to concede tries, and I thought that was something for me which was quite interesting, because they're obviously known for more their attacking prowess and the way that they can use the width of the field, the way that, again, they keep the ball alive a lot, and they look for the offload and the tackle. So it's a team that plays with flair, but any team that wants to win trophies needs to have a good defense, and we started to see that with the Stormers this weekend. Now, a little bit like the Bulls, it's almost like a nice situation to be in from the Sharks, in the fact that whilst they squeaked their way to a victory over the Dragon side, which beat Munster, by the way, so I don't think I think it'd be unfair to say that it's a poor Dragon side. But the Sharks, 90 points to 20 against the Dragons, just not clicking at the moment, just not quite showing us what they can do with the caliber of player that they currently have. Now, yes, they're going to add a lot. They can pretty much add a half a new side into the Sharks 23. But it's still not quite happening for them. And I think the issue is that whilst they're getting away with it at the moment, they're sitting 2 from 2, so that, it's difficult to criticize a team that hasn't lost a match yet. As soon as, if it starts going wrong, there's a lot of, things can get ugly quite quickly. If you start seeing a very good playing style, if you start seeing good patterns, you start seeing good habits, and you can see it's just not quite, that final pass is not quite sticking, and it's something that with a couple of tweaks, suddenly that'd be really good. I think people can sort of get over some poor results. But the Sharks, whilst they have, as I said, 2 wins out of 2, sitting on 9 points after 2 games, so 9 out of 10, possible 10, it's difficult to complain about them. Safe to say that we haven't seen the Sharks side that we keep waiting to see. And yes, as I said, they will bring a lot more players in. You'll see Etzebeth, we'll see Khaleesi, we'll see new front rows coming in. We will see, Lakanya Ambak eventually. There's a lot of players to come back into the Sharks side. But you look at the Lions side and the Sharks side on paper, the Lions side is definitely far worse than even the current Sharks side, and yet are starting to click and starting to really look good. The Sharks are getting results, but are not really playing to their full capacity, and the issue with that is that sort of usually comes back down to the coaching staff. So I think Sean Everett's under a bit of pressure to really sort of start producing that standard of rugby and a brand of rugby that is worthy of the players of the union. I do think it will come eventually. I think that at the moment everything it was working well, Sharks, except for the on-field performances. I think they've got a really good culture and a really good team culture. I think there's a lot of good things happening in the union. In fact, very little bad happening in the union, but it's just not quite translating on the pitch just yet from a performance point of view. Results-wise, so far, 2 from 2, you're happy with that. But from a performance point of view, there's still a lot that we're sort of expecting to see from the Sharks. Right now, amidst all the talks about the fly-half crisis, what are we going to do at the end of the year, I thought that Manie Libbok stepped up this weekend and showed almost a bit of a different side from him. Obviously, we know that Manie Libbok is a player who plays with a lot of flair. He likes to take the ball to the game, likes to look at bringing other players around him into play. He's got a very interesting sort of attacking, kicking mindset. But for me, he sort of showed his more all-round ability this weekend. He kicked very well from the tee, which I think is a very big thing at the moment. I thought he managed the game pretty well. And that's sort of the biggest thing, is that I think, if he's going to be a Springbok fly-half, he needs to be able to sort of transition himself away from just that, attacking flair, high-risk, high-reward type player. Also, I thought defensively he showed up pretty well this weekend. Again, a very big, important sort of box to tick when it comes to Springbok selection. And I think that at the moment he's showing all the signs of becoming a potential Springbok fly-half. And I'll be very surprised if he's not on a plane overseas at the end of your tour, at the very least playing those SAA games. So very impressed with what I'm seeing from him. Again, I think that all-round ability is what the Springbok management are looking for. You can't just be a good tackling fly, you can't kick the goal, you can't manage the game, you can't defend your channel. But this weekend, you start to see him tick a little bit more of those boxes, and I think becoming a bit more well-rounded and becoming a bit more consistent will be the key to Manie Libbok actually becoming a Springbok fly-half and putting himself in that conversation. So those are the 5 things that sort of I took away from this weekend. As I said, I want to know what you think down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.